Hello and welcome to this episode of the MediaTech podcast. We are joined once again by Eric Jewell. How's it going?
Howdy. Oh, I just hit the mic.
You're good. It's a great start. So for those that may not know, Eric is the head of the film program here at MediaTech. Yep. And what a great head of the program you are.
Well, thank you.
And we're about to see just how great. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know. Boy, it's quiz the teacher day.
That is what it is, because we are currently still on winter break. So the students aren't here. So I was thinking last night, what can I do just with Eric? And you've quizzed me so many times. I've been looking forward to this podcast to quiz you.
So let me preface this by saying our industry has a lot of different terms, and some of them are regional. So many, and also some of them are dependent on whether or not you're in the feature industry or whether you're in the corporate industrial video industry. So many times there'll be terms that, you know, in Dallas we'll say things sometimes that I'll say to an LA crew and they don't know what I'm talking about.
And vice versa.
Yeah,
sure.
Definitely vice versa. So you may hit me with a couple of LA terms I don't know. I do want to say when I was young and learning, I had a term that I thought was accurate, and it was if you're lighting in a studio, right, and you can hang a light either at the grid or you can lower it on this arm. For some dumb reason, I got it in my head that arm was called a dragon's tail. Right? So I kept telling everybody, "Oh, get the dragon's tail." Until my mentor, John Sermon, the guy who taught me everything I know, he said, "Eric, it's a trombone. It's not a dragon's tail."
Well, you weren't even close.
No, nowhere close. I like dragon's tail better.
So if you haven't gotten the hint, I'm going to quiz him over film terms, and there are a lot of weird ones if you're unaware.
So every time I don't know it, I'm just going to say dragon's tail and we'll move on.
Cool. So I do want to give credit where it's due. This is a great image that was posted to Reddit by a company called No Film School. They have lots of good tutorials online. So we're going to go in alphabetical order, and I think these start off kind of easy, and there are some weird ones in here, so if Eric doesn't know some, it's definitely not his fault. First, what is an apple box?
Oh, come on. Okay, so, well, apple boxes, of course, are a box a lot of times, I don't know if you know this, but when you're looking at a picture on a movie, it's fake. That lamp isn't really that tall. Tom Cruise isn't really that tall. So they need something to get things up higher, smaller, whatever. And they have these, it's not like you just go grab some weird box, your shoe box you have in the corner. They build these boxes called apple boxes, and they kind of look like a fruit stand box, but they're actually enclosed, and you've got different sizes. Mm-hmm. You got the full, the half, the quarter, the pancake. Yeah.
And they're used everywhere. Like anytime I'm on an actual set, I see them just on every single place that you can imagine that they might need some height adjustment.
And anybody who's in this industry uses them at their house for things too. Yeah. Right. And also, like, we use them right now, our Christmas tree, which has not been taken down.
It is January 7th. Right?
I don't know when this is going to air. Probably like in summer, and they'll go, "You hadn't taken it down in the summer." But there's an apple box underneath my Christmas tree.
Really? Oh my gosh,
a half
awesome.
Apple to get it closer to the ceiling. So bigger room for presents.
All right, next is one I did not know. Atmosphere.
Well, atmosphere is like smoke, or we call it. I call it atmosphere.
See, that's what I would have thought it was, but that's not what this says.
That's not what it says it is.
No, it says extras. I did not know that definition.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I've heard that, but I have actually used the term atmosphere for smoke and have seen other people use it as well.
Yeah, maybe that's another regional thing. I think probably here, because I definitely knew atmosphere is the same thing.
Yeah.
All right. What does it mean when you're either an actor or a crew member and it's time to go back in?
It's time. It's call time. Is that what you're talking about? Or
yeah, that matter, or that works. It's just when it's time to start work, either after a break or a period. So I didn't know that was a term, but
so you're saying a term other than call time at the beginning of the day, right?
Or I think specifically it means after a break. So like after lunch or something, you're back in. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. You have to help me on that. I mean, I've probably heard it a million times.
For sure. That doesn't seem like something that would go on like a list of film set lingo to me.
Right.
All right, easy one. Barn doors.
Oh yeah, on a light, you want to cut the light a little bit, and you can close them in and out, and they don't do that much. Sometimes flags are better for cutting the light, getting the flag farther away from the light, but barn doors are good for helping shape the light.
Perfect. That's the thing that a lot of people will recognize when they're not necessarily in the industry. They'll recognize a film light by the barn doors usually.
Absolutely. And my students constantly, I'm always telling them, when you're setting up a light, make sure there's barn doors on it. Make sure that you got Scrim box hanging there. Make sure you've got, there I go hitting the mic again. Make sure you've got, the stinger coiled up ready to go, or plug the light in. So a lot of times I over and over again forget to put the barn doors on.
I know.
You're going to get in trouble one of these days. So
next, what is a best boy?
He's under the gaffer, kind of the head electrician under the gaffer.
Nice.
So
that's it.
Okay.
Baby legs.
Baby legs. If you're talking about the smaller light for a baby. I mean, the smaller
that could work. I've heard that, but this is it's at a short tripod. So
yeah, sure, baby legs. We've got a set. There's also hi hat.
Yeah, I think that's the regional term here is hi hat.
Yeah, we say hi hat with that little legs that are right on get the camera really low to the ground.
You can literally inches off the ground. You can get a camera.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another regional one. All right, what is a boom?
Like when I lowered the boom on my ex-wife? What are you talking about? No,
I don't think that's this one.
Okay. Like a boom pole or a boom operator, or there are mechanical booms for like live television, but it's getting that mic in there so it can really hear the sound really well.
Perfect. That's the thing that the guys are always there.
Yeah. You get really tired doing this. It looks easy because it's a light little pole, but it's not. You hold it for long enough.
It sucks so bad.
And people always think they can do it until they try it, and they just can't seem to get it pointed right. It's comical, honestly, the first time you try it.
2 minutes into it the first time, you're dead. Your arms are gone.
Yeah.
The next one, this is one that always surprises anybody that I tell what it is, or that even filmmakers might want to use these. What are C47s?
C47s are... very simply, you're giving away all our lingo, man. This is it. The C47s are simply clothespins, and wooden clothespins at that, because plastic ones could melt, and wooden ones, if they start to burn on a light, they'll just char a little bit. So do you know what it is when you turn them inside out?
C74.
There you go. Now I'm quizzing you.
So, I mean, those are used quite a lot, and it surprises people. Like, why would a filmmaker ever want a clothespin?
Right. But, I mean, go to the dollar store and get a big set of wooden clothespins and keep them in your... Ditty Bag or something. Definitely
the most value effective piece of gear that anybody could own.
Yeah.
What is black wrap?
Black wrap. So black wrap looks like foil to most people, a thick foil that can be shaped in many different ways. It's very expensive foil.
Yeah,
it's not like buying Reynolds
wrap. I hate
wrap.
buying black wrap.
But I do love black wrap. What I always say is so much of my job when I'm doing lighting, especially interview lighting, it's the typical 2 or 3 point lighting. You do it all the time. Where you get to be artistic is the background. How's the background going to look? And the easiest way to make a cool artistic background is to take a sheet of black wrap, take your Leatherman, open up the knife, pop, 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 bunch of holes, spread those holes apart in weird ways, stick it in front of the light. I'm keep hitting this thing. Sorry about that. Spread it in front of the light, and then you get all these weird, cool light patterns on the wall. So
I never thought of that.
I do that all the time.
Thank you.
That's my main thing. And put some color through it too if you want to.
That's a great tip. I never heard of this next one. Camera wedges.
Well, we use wedges for a lot of things. I mean, wedges we use for sure on dollies whenever you're trying to get the track straight, and they're block wedges. We have we have crates of them in the back. As far as for a camera itself,
that's what it is. So you got it. Yeah.
Okay,
There's wooden wedge. I don't know why a camera is in front of it.
Well, you would use it on a tripod, but that doesn't make sense if you've got a ball level. So
yeah. Next, combo stand.
Yeah, combo stand is a stand. A lot of times I say junior combo stand, but a combo stand has a combination of ways to hold a light. So one of them could be a little spigot that's the same spud that would used on a C-stand, but could hold like a baby or lots of more Richardson lights. Or once you get into heavier 2K lights and above, you get a junior or an Airy 2K or something. They have a much bigger spigot that would be on there. And some of them even have a place with a lot of different holes in it, like you'd have on a C-stand to hold flags and things like that. So we have a couple junior combo stands in the back.
Those things are a pain.
Yeah, they're heavy.
And on that note, C-stand.
Well, C-stand. This was when I went to, I'm not going to tell you which four-year college I went to, but when I went to a four-year college of my choice, later on in the industry, I said, how come they never told me what a C-stand was? Because it's so normal.
Yeah.
C-stand, C-47s, Stingers, we'll get to that in alphabetical order. But I'm just saying a C-stand is a very common thing. Again, if you are in the industry, you have a few of them at your house and you use them to hold stuff while you're fixing things. But a C-stand is very manipulative. It can hold lights, it can do all that, but you can put an arm on it and move the arm in any direction and twist it in any way. As long as you can think 3D. How do I want things? Twisted this way, up and down, around. If you can think 3D, then you're good at being a grip and you're good at manipulating things and holding them where they need to. And you would use the C-stand to do something like that.
I mean, it's just a stand that can do just about anything. And it holds a lot of weight too, surprisingly.
Yeah.
They're heavy though.
And they cost like what, $200-300 for a good one?
For a good one. It sucks.
It's ridiculous.
And usually you need to buy more than one.
Yeah.
Next, didn't know what this was. What is cribbing?
Cribbing, yeah. So cribbing is it's the stuff that's usually with the wedges.
Yeah.
It's the stuff you use for getting things even and stuff, right?
Is it just, yeah, you're right. So, I mean, it's just as short pieces of wood used for grip purposes.
They're just like little wedges and little things that you want to get things just right.
Gotcha. I had no idea what that was. Next is a Ditty Bag.
Yeah, and I said that earlier, Ditty Bag. So Ditty Bag is what you're going to keep all your stuff in if you're like a grip or you're a below-the-line crew member and you're going to keep stuff in, your flashlights, your Leatherman, maybe a leveler, all kinds of stuff. Some people will keep them as like fanny packs, and things like that. And then some people keep them as a little work bag, like a construction crew guy might carry around his personal tools.
So you mentioned below the line, that's not on here, but how do you define that?
Yeah. So if you have to negotiate, if you have an agent that has to negotiate for your salary on something, or you do like that, you're probably above the line, more than likely. Sure, there's a little negotiation that happens below the line, but below the line are everyone on the crew that's grips and gaffers and all kinds of anybody. There's so many technical people working on a film. Most of them are below the line, and there's a fairly standard rate in the town they're in or the industry they're in, and that's fine. But when you get to somebody like Tom Cruise or Steven Spielberg or something like that, they are definitely above the line, and that's usually the writers and what you might call the creatives, and they're a lot of times negotiating their rates and things like that have so they're above the line. Below the line. It is kind of a rich-poor metaphor. But
yeah, I know. It doesn't sound very PC, does it?
It doesn't, no.
All right, where was I? So Ditty Bag. I didn't know what this was. What is a day player? Is that a regional thing?
Yeah, a day player is just someone that's coming in to work on a gig for, they've got like one scene. They're just in there for a day. I mean, just like it sounds. I mean, you might call them a day player if they're in for a day or two, but honestly, they're not there for the full length of the production.
Gotcha. So like just like a day grip, or like what's a?
Oh no!
What's a common?
Tends to be more actors.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, more with actors.
I know what these are. I never heard of them called this. Dirt. Do you know what dirt is?
Yeah, it's the precursor to mud.
It's defined as sandbags here.
Oh, yeah. Well, we call them sandbags or shot bags.
Shot bags. And what's funny is anytime I talk to someone from LA, I don't know if they call them shot bags or not, but they don't seem to know what I'm talking about with shot bags.
With shot bags, it's a lot of people fill them up with buckshot or BB, something that makes them really heavy. So we call them shot bags here in Dallas a lot. But sandbags, yeah. Something heavy to hold things down so they don't fall over.
And next, didn't know what this was either. What is the first team in regards to actors?
Well, the first team would be the actual actors coming out to work, right? I mean, and then they would have their stand-ins while you're lighting. Yeah,
that's basically it says the lead actors, so I guess it's the difference.
You're gonna start hitting me with some Hollywood ones, and I've shot a movie, but not in Hollywood. So
I wonder if there's regional versions of this. That'd be funny to do a follow-up.
Yeah, it would.
Doorway Dolly.
Yeah, Doorway Dolly is the cheapest of the dollies you can rent. Sometimes you can get them for as cheap as $60 a day. To $100 a day, and they're just a flat piece of heavy duty wood with 4 really nice aired up tires and something to push it with. So you can just set your own tripod on it and have a makeshift dolly. It's good as a low key little thing and easy to carry around. Here at this school, we've got lots of ways to move cameras, but one of them is a Fisher 11 dolly, which is a much
big
heavier,
brother.
Yeah, it's a much heavier, more expensive one. But
and those are usually thin enough to fit through doors, I guess.
Yeah, the 11's small enough to go through doors. The A little bit bigger may not. And then the 9 is a really old one. But generally those 3 we see in Dallas a lot of the Fishers.
Gotcha.
So
next, Duvetyne.
Duvetyne is just a material, usually a black material used for many different reasons. Sometimes for just cutting light. Sometimes as a whole background area. If you're shooting something and you've got a shiny stand in the shot, but if everything's dark, you could tape some Duvetyne on it to keep the stand from shining. There's just lots of uses for just cloth, black cloth that soaks up light.
Gotcha. Next is, I think we're jumping ahead to Gaffer.
Yeah, Gaffer. Well, the Gaffer, I always say that the director has a vision, but he's going to consult with the DP, right? And the DP and the director are going to be very creative about how it's going to look. But the director might say, gosh, I really want this to be dark like that movie Blade Runner. And then the DP will say, oh, okay, you want it to be moody, dark, I got it. He'll turn to the Gaffer and he'll say, okay, I need it dark on this side, but there's going to be a heavy key over here. And then the Gaffer will turn to the best boy in the crew and say, okay, I need a tweenie over here, some diffusion. The Gaffer's really the person that's doing the main lighting of the whole thing and the electric and lighting there. And a lot of times good Gaffers are also registered electricians too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That makes sense though. Another one I didn't know. What does it mean to feather a flag?
Yeah, so feathering is just it's just like it is in Photoshop, honestly, but it's for light. So when you're feathering something, you want to make the edge of the shadow either be very precise or be feathered off so that the light dissipates slowly. It's not a sharp edge. So the closer you get a flag, and a flag is something that blocks light, the closer you get a flag to the light, the more the edge gets, or the less defined the edge, it gets more feathery on the edges. And the farther away you get, the sharper that comes into focus and becomes a very sharp, defined edge.
Gotcha. Next is a Furnie Pad.
Yeah, a Furnie Pad is like a moving blanket. We all see them in at U-Haul all the time. So like furniture blanket, Furnie. And I don't know if that's actually where it comes from, but that's how I would have used it. That's what I logically would think it would come from. But they're thick pads, and many times they soak up sound well. So if you're in a very noisy room with everything reflecting off the floor, you put your actors on the Furnie Pad if you don't want their heels clicking around and stuff. Or hang Furnie Pads, or just use them to block. You're layering a bunch of stuff in a truck. You're carrying things, and you don't want it to rip up something. You put Furnie Pads around it.
Interesting. I never thought to put one under actors. That's really smart.
Yeah.
Next, another one I didn't know: a high boy.
High boy, and are we talking about the light stand high boy? Yeah. Okay. This one, you're gonna have to tell me a little more about it. I mean, I've seen them. We don't have a high boy here at the school, but
it's like a big rolling combo stand.
Yeah, it's for like getting things up really high and really heavy things.
Next, a Japanese lantern.
Japanese lantern. Well, yeah, you're talking about like a paper lantern that's used to diffuse light and make it. A lot of times, if you have some people around a table, you might drop a Japanese lantern in, and it gives light in a big ball. You can go buy these at like Pier 1 and things like that, and stick a bulb in there, and it'll just give soft light all coming out at like a globe.
So I don't know if this is a Japanese lantern or not, but I often see like really big ones doing day for night, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and there's
or
a brand.
Night for day, I guess.
Well, there's a brand. I don't remember the brand name that has them. Also, different companies like Lowell makes those ones that are round on the top, like a pizza pan or something. And then they've got drapery that comes down and another round one on the bottom, and the light's in the middle. And in essence, it's doing the same thing. It's just putting soft light everywhere out of the light, diffusing it.
Next big one, gaff tape or gaffer's tape.
Yeah, gaff tape's huge in our industry. It is not duct tape. It is not duct tape.
And never try to use duct tape in place of it.
So if you are on a set and you're at someone's really expensive house and you are filming and you try to put duct tape on something, you're probably going to leave residue or take paint off or do something because duct tape, is like that. It's strong. Gaff tape is meant to be, if you know how to do it, fairly easy to tear, and very easy. It's very good at adhering and sticking things and holding things, but it also doesn't leave much residue. Unless it's a really hot day and the sun's beating down. Let's not talk about that. What you also don't want to do is, if you're going to gaff tape down some cords, don't just pull the cord up, because the gaff tape will wrap around it, and then you'll have forever trying to take it off, and they'll make you do it.
Worst.
So you always want to hold the cord down, pull the gaff tape up.
And it's expensive.
I want everybody to know that.
That's another expensive thing that shouldn't be expensive.
Exactly. It is expensive. Yeah. And they have it. Most people get black, but then there's a gray. It's the next color, but then they have it in lots of colors.
And Amazon Basics, if you're going to buy gaff tape, trust me.
Yeah.
It's cheap. All right. There's a few different synonyms for this that I hear a lot, but magic hour.
Okay. Magic hour, golden hour. You know, it's the time of day when the sun's just getting to and getting below the horizon so that everything is beautiful. I mean, it's just a beautiful light. Generally, if the sun is to your side or back or in front of you, you're going to have prettier light than if it's directly overhead. And there's ways to make everything look pretty, but that's the prettiest time of day. So you see it all the time in movies, golden hour. But they call it an hour, and it depends on the time of year, but you only have a certain amount of time to get that. So you can't plan huge amounts of things in that time because you're going to run out of time.
Yeah, and that sucks too, trying to fit everything into a golden hour.
Yeah.
Next, key grip.
Key grip would be under the best boy, but over the rest of the grips, and kind of a person in charge, like a management system for grips.
That's true. Yeah, man, you're impressing me with all this. Next, I did not know this. Last man.
I have heard that term, and now I'm trying to remember what that term is. Last man. Hold on, let me think. I have heard this term. Last man.
I've never heard it before, so I don't know if it's
Is it the last man on the crew when they're tearing down? I can't remember.
Sort of. It's the last person to get lunch. It says technically lunch does not begin until the last man has gotten it.
Okay. So if they've got a 30-minute lunch, then that last man has gotten his lunch before the 30-minute clock starts.
I imagine that becomes really important with much bigger crews than I've ever worked on.
Yeah. Big Hollywood crews where there's penalties and stuff.
Next, what is a pickup shot?
Well, it's a shot you probably missed that you need to go get, or you had a lot of actors that were expensive and you need to get rid of them. But let's say you needed a close-up of just somebody's hand picking up something. Well, not picking up. That sounds like that's what it's meant. No, just any little shot you needed to get. You might have to go back another day and get your pickup shots.
Mm-hmm. Like getting your pickups is a frequent term.
Yeah.
Next, what is the martini?
The martini is the last shot of the day. Some people might even say the last shot of the whole film itself. But a lot of times we'll celebrate it on a daily basis because who doesn't want to drink martinis every day? Do you know what the Abbey Singer is? That's the second to last shot.
Really? I always called the second to last shot the margarita.
No, it's called the Abbey Singer, and it's named after a very famous grip in Hollywood. His name was Abbey Singer.
Interesting. So, I had no idea. Yeah. Next, what is MOS?
MOS, Without Sound. And it's the,
Is that true? You're not the first person that I've heard that.
So there's two things I've heard. I heard that the most. Without Sound, a German director trying to say without sound. Let's shoot this without sound. So when you're on a movie set, there's so much stuff that has to happen, and so much of it causes noise, moving giant things around. So if you've always got to stop so that it can be quiet for the sound, a lot of times things can't be done on the other side of the set or the other side of the studio. So if you go, this doesn't matter. There's no sync sound for the voice. Let's shoot this MOS so they can be working over in the other corner or something, and we don't worry about sound. So generally you're just saying without sound. I've also heard it meant missing optical sound, as in missing an optical track, because the sound used to be optical on a film.
That sounds more likely.
Yeah, but I don't know. I like without sound. It sounds better.
Next, practical.
Practical is just a light in the background. Let's see, we have me back here. No, yeah, we do.
Maybe
kind of. We don't really, because we've got lights on the ceiling that are aiming on this board, but you don't see the lights in the shot probably. But if we had a lamp back there, maybe sitting on an apple box, that lamp would be turned on. And you know what? Here's the thing. A lot of good DPs carry around light bulbs in their Ditty Bag. They'll carry around like 25 watts and 15 watts because anytime you're putting in a really high wattage bulb, many times it's way too bright for the scene. So you either are putting a bunch of diffusion around it, opal or something like that, or if you got a dimmer, you can dim it down, but sometimes that gets noisy. You don't make that sound. But if you can just rebulb it to a lower wattage bulb.
Interesting.
So I used to always carry them around when I was doing a lot of DP work.
That's a great idea. Next is when you say points.
Points is your have you ever gone to the Alamo Draft House and you're walking down there to go to see a movie and you hear corner?
Yes.
They say it all the time. Corner. They're coming around the corner with a big thing of food. They're trying to warn you that you're about to get food spilled all over you. So that's their lingo. Our lingo is points.
Just when you got a stand or something.
You got a stand or something that's pointy objects that could be hitting someone in the eye. Do you know what you put on one? If you've got one sitting there on a C-stand, it's just points that are there all day long. Do you know what you'd put on there?
Man, I wish I did. I don't want to sound dumb.
Take a tennis ball. You ever seen that?
I have seen that.
You cut a hole in the tennis ball and stick it on the end of the stand, and that way, that big bright yellow thing. Also, there won't be a pointy thing aimed at someone's eye.
That's a good. I have seen that. I never would have thought to actually do it. Next is a plate.
A plate. So you've got different kinds of like a for instance, the baby plate would have be a flat plate with a spud on it that you might screw gun into an apple box to hold a light, get a light on the ground.
That is a definition. This is in terms of visual effects.
Camera plate. Oh no, in terms of, you got baby plate, you got camera plate for holding the plate on there. As far as special effects, you're talking about a background plate. Mm-hmm. So a background plate is getting everything clean and clear without anybody in the foreground. So that you can have that to put in where the green would be, or the green screen or blue screen would be, some sort of background. And a lot of times, if you can get it live, it's great. I always think that if you can shoot a green screen shot outdoors in the same light that you're trying to do, you get a much more realistic look than trying to light it yourself in a studio.
And then also, if you know you need to paint something out, it's so hard to do it without a plate.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Yeah, you clean background plate.
We're almost done.
Okay.
When you give your actors their sides.
Yeah, sides are little pieces of the script that are meant just for the actors for that scene, sometimes related to just that actor and their pieces, or just the dialogue pulled out, easy for them to read.
Perfect. Room tone.
Room tone. Hold on, let's get some room tone real quick. Ready?
Got it.
We got a room tone. So room tone is just being quiet, and I always tell the crew and actors to stay there. Don't vacate the set for me to get room tone, because the room sounds different when people are gone. So if you were acting with a bunch of actors, have them all stay where they're at. Everyone just be quiet. And the funniest thing on this is to watch the movie Living in Oblivion when they get room tone at the end. So just watch that movie, Living in Oblivion.
Did you show us that one?
Yeah, I did. It's a great movie we learn about movie sets and all the weird stuff that happens on them.
Gotcha. That is a really funny movie. I think you showed us that in like one of our first weeks too.
Yeah.
Next is a scrim.
Scrim, yeah. It's earlier I mentioned hanging a scrim box on your light stand, but it's a little round. It looks like this, actually. Can you see this, folks? It looks like this, and it's meant to drop inside of not make so much noise. Drop inside of a light in between where the barn doors are. And you can have a double or a single, and then you can have a half double and a half single. What color is the double? What color is the single? I'm asking you.
Double is red, single is green, right?
Right. And I want to say that on a set, we like to come up with creative ways for saying you have to go to the bathroom. So sometimes I'll say I need to go drop a double or a single. And sometimes it might just be a single and a half double.
Well, that's a...
Do you know what, on a Hollywood set, what you got to do when you tell somebody you go to the bathroom?
I have no idea.
So if they're across, you got to tell your key grip and your grip across the way, I got to go to the bathroom. You do this.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
You're ringing it out.
And that's like standard?
You're ringing it out, yeah.
I had no idea.
I got to go ring it out.
So for those that are listening to this, how do you explain this hand movement?
You're ringing it out. Yeah. But, and also, you can go to the honey wagon. You know what the honey wagon is?
No.
Yeah, never offer to clean the honey wagon. That's the porta potty on a movie set.
Honey wagon. That's not even on here. That's awesome. There's like 5 more. Right. The second unit.
Second unit is usually a crew that goes and gets all the things that the principal actors aren't in. If you want to see a funny thing on this, watch Wayne's World when they travel and they're like going to other nations, and they did a joke on this where the second unit was shooting people that obviously weren't Wayne and Garth from their backs, and like, we're in Paris and we're in whatever. And it was just a funny way to make fun of second unit. But second unit is getting all that other stuff. Oh, the pretty shots of the mountains or this or that. And the main unit's over working with the actors, getting things done. So.
And on big movies, sometimes other directors are called in to do second unit stuff.
You want to know a famous one? I just gave my brother this Christmas present, which was a VHS of RoboCop. With Monty Hellman's signature. Now, Monty Hellman did not direct RoboCop. Monty Hellman directed Two Lane Blacktop. You should see that. It's obviously, it's a very cool movie. The only movie James Taylor ever acted in. And Monty Hellman directed, a very famous director, directed Second Unit on RoboCop.
Interesting.
But he was in town. I got to get his autograph. It was cool.
So what's the name, real quick, as a small aside, what's the name of the guy the actor that's super famous that does all the mocap work? He did Planet of the Apes. He did Snow.
Yeah, Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis. He directed Second Unit on all of the Hobbit movies. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Next, in regards to actors, I've never heard of this, the second team.
The second team?
Yeah. It's defined here very specifically.
In regards to actors?
Yeah.
Now, is it the stand-ins?
It is.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay.
Next, the one we've all been waiting for, the stinger.
Yeah, the stinger. Okay. Well, it has nothing to do with the police or Sting or anything like that. It is just very simply an extension cord, power cord, getting power to the set. And we call them stingers because I guess if you bit into it, it would sting you. Right?
And honestly, I know this is wrong, but if ever I'm shooting anything and I've either hired someone or I'm working on a whatever, and someone says, can I get an extension cord or cable? It's like, it's always like immediately.
But see, you're delving into an area that's like crews talk about a lot. And that is, I used to all the time have little tests for my clients, and it wasn't anything I was going to call them out on, but the tests were things like sometimes when it's crew, it's do you know what a stinger is? Do you know what a C-47 is? Do you know how to over/under cable? All that's for a crew kind of thing. But sometimes with a client, I used to. They would talk about wanting, something on time. They want time code, make sure that you got time code, or let's set the time code, which we don't do quite as much nowadays. And I used to say, do you want drop frame or non-drop? And then if they didn't know what I was talking about, then I kind of knew where they stood technically.
Gotcha.
So,
interesting. That's a good idea. Two more. Striking, when you're striking something.
Yeah. It's what I am every time I look in a mirror. Striking.
And this does give two definitions of striking, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Two definitions. Boy, that's okay. So striking to me is tearing down a set and striking it and either moving on or finishing for the day. It could be finishing for the whole day, I guess, but finishing for tearing down a set and moving on.
And the other one. You taught it to me.
I did?
Yeah. When you say striking on a set, what are you doing? I feel like you're going to be like, God, I knew it.
You're going to have to tell me. I taught it to you.
Turning on a light.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, striking, of course. Why wouldn't I get that one? Obviously, we teach that. I'm like, it's funny thing is we teach that in first semester, and Lee's been teaching that a lot. And of course, I say it it's inherently when I turn it on. Now it's just memory, yeah.
All right, last one, Video Village.
Oh, yeah. So a lot of times when you're outdoors, especially, but when you're out shooting on a location, you want a little area where all the lights blocked off. And nowadays, directors look at monitors. And you don't want a lot of extraneous light hitting the monitors, and you can put something around the monitor itself, but sometimes they'll make a whole little room, and it's like basically putting a tent together with a lot of sides on the tent. And a lot of times you don't want it to be a bright tent. You actually want it to be dark. So you either make a dark tent or buy a dark tent, or you put Duvetyne over it or something like that, muslin or something, just to get it darker so that when we walk in there, and the people that are in there are usually the above the line people. If the DP is not operating the camera, he may be in there, but the director for sure, some of the producers, any of the investors, people that are there that you're wanting to treat nice, the big wigs, right?
And usually you can see, if you're a multi-camera shoot, you can see all the different cameras laid out real nicely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is kind of funny because like you traditionally would expect the director to be like right there next to the camera, but on big shoots they could be many yards away in Video Village or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah.
But cool. Well, thank you so much for doing this. You got like 95%, I feel like.
pretty close. I was worried you were going to pull out some really strange ones. I'm going to go, hey, we didn't talk about we got to end on a not PC one.
Yeah.
What do you call a very small C-stand?
I have no idea.
I'm not kidding you. It's called a Gary Coleman.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know who Gary Coleman was?
I know the name.
The short kid from Different Strokes. Never mind.
Is it
Look
really?
It up.
It's really, that's what it's called, for real.
Yeah, I've called it that. Other people have called it that on set. So yeah, and I didn't make it up.
And I'm sure there's many more non-PC ones that we have.
Yes, there's lots of non-PC ones, right?
Anyway, before we get too far down that road, again, thank you so much for doing this. If you are interested in learning all about filmmaking, you'll get to put all of those terms to use. Not only we get to say them, but you'll get to put them all to use here at MediaTech. So definitely come out, schedule a free tour. There are campuses in Dallas and Houston. And while you're at it, check out the studios for recording arts. And they also have programs for animation and VFX, and soon to be acting and makeup, starting up soon. So check out MediaTech.edu, and we'll see you again next week with another podcast. Thank you, Eric.
Was that the Martini?
This is the Martini. We're about to
striking. Striking. Okay, last man gets lunch.
All right, thank you, guys.